probably the most challenging part of this entire training title was for me to kind of figure out a way so I can speed up your learning curve. And of course, that's one of the reasons why you come here, why you're watching this DVD. With practice and with time, of course, you will become good at it. But is there a way for me to help you see the images and what needs to be dodged and what needs to be burned from my eyes, from my point of view? And I thought if I were to work in real time on one image for many, many hours, that would be good for you to see the entire process, but at the same time, you wouldn't see real changes because the progress of me dodging and running would be quite slow. But if I were to work on many images, and if I were to try to make not just small changes, but also more global changes, then eventually, the more time you see it, you should be able to pick up the pattern. What it is that I'm looking for? What it is that I'm dodging and burning? And by doing so, once you figure out the pattern, it's going to be a lot easier for you to know what it is that you need to dodge and burn. And hopefully, with time, by the end of this chapter, that's going to be enough for me to show it to you and for you to understand it so that when you try to do it on your own, it doesn't take as much time as if you would just by watching one image and then try to do it on your own. And we wanted to do this in, like I said, in not just one image. And also one of the potential images that you might be working on with dodging and burning tools would be a full body shot. And that's what I wanted to start with. So this image is called fullbody.cr2, and I have it here open in my camera off dialog box. And the reason I have it open here is just to show you that I'm starting from scratch. I'm not making any real changes or anything. I'm just opening it up, and I'm going to click open image. It is going to open it up in Photoshop, and we are ready to begin working on this image, actually to prepare it for dodging and burning first. So let's take a closer look. Now this image, at first glance, well, there is some color inconsistency, right? I mean, if you zoom in, you can see there are some darker patches here, and it's not really smooth skin, but it's in really good shape actually. Also, these shadows here and these highlights, this could all be quite nicely shaped to be more pleasing for the eye. Maybe this area here, and there are some other areas that could be worked on, definitely. So that's what we're going to be doing on this image. Now, to give you a better understanding what it is that we need to do, like always, I'm going to use my help for dodging and burning. Let's zoom in. I just click on the black and white adjustment layer, and I'm going to lower my red slider. And I'm going to increase my yellows just a bit. And now you start to see quite a bit of these darker patches. See this area here, this area here. That all could be dodged and burned to be really smoother looking. And at first glance, you might didn't see that, and you can see that a lot of inconsistencies that we could fix. Well, that's what I wanted to show you first, right? So all you have to do is apply this help for dodging and burning, and it's already much easier to see the areas needs working on. So if I were to see this image for the first time and needed to figure out what it is that I need to work on, well, that's one of the things that I would first do. And now that I see the problems, now I can start dodging and burning. But before I do, I just want to make sure that you can understand better what it is that I'm looking for. Let's zoom in. Well, this is a patch, darker patches here. I mean, you must see this, especially this area here, right? This darker patches. Let me zoom in so you can see this area here, this area here, this area. This could all be dodged and burned quite nicely without disrupting the original skin pores here on the neck area. This area here, this could all be fixed quite nicely. So let's see. Let's create our dodging and burning layer, and in this case I'm going to create my black and white. Actually, I already created that, so I'm going to create, the next step would be to create a method for dodging and burning of your choice. In my case, that's going to be, I'm not going to use the blank layer this time, I'm going to use the gray layer so I can better demonstrate where I dodge and burn. So I have that now ready. Now I'm going to zoom in. Now let's start with the obvious, this area here. Now I'm switching to my pen and tablet. And if you have your ready set, please do. Because I played back the action, remember we recorded all the settings, so everything is ready for me to work. I'm just going to zoom in. And I'm going to start painting over these darker areas really gently. Because I don't want to disrupt the natural shadows and highlight that kind of makes the definition of the muscles, which I really like. Instead, I'm just gonna fix these inconsistencies. And it's really easy to do so with dodging and burning without destroying the actual shadows and highlights which define the muscles, like I already mentioned. And in case you're not seeing this, what exactly am I doing? Don't worry, I'm going to show you before and after in just a minute, so you will be able to clearly see what exactly did I do. And I think that's one of the problems when I try to explain this, because it's such a subtle effect. So one brush stroke is almost impossible to see, but once you do it many times over the same area, you kind of see the buildup of the color. And then when I show you before and after by deactivating the dodge and burn layer, then you really see the difference. So if you're working along with me and use your method of choice, just gently go over these darker patches. Don't try to do everything in one place, in one area. Jump around so you have more objectivity and it's less boring, by the way. Also, when you're doing this, with time, you're going to be a lot more experienced. You're going to be able to distinguish between just a dark patch and a shadow that defines the muscle. And I'm a bit better at it at this point probably than you, but don't worry. When I show you before and after, if you're not sure right now what it needs to be burned or dodged, just wait for me to finish this area real quickly, and then I'll show you before and after. So you'll clearly see the area that needs to be worked on, and then you can try to replicate that with your method of choice. And I think that's probably a good idea for you to just try to do after I'm done, and once I show you before and after. I'm not gonna wait, I'm gonna start doing other areas, but you can always pause this video and you can work on your image and on your area, whichever area you might pick to do so. And of course, no matter how experienced you are, it's always a danger of going too far or not doing enough. But that's the beauty of dodging and burning. You can always lower back the opacity, you can dodge and burn it additionally, and so don't worry about have I just done it right from the first time or what. I just showed you in the first 3 examples just how many mistakes you can make and still fix it. It's not that big of a deal. The more relaxed you are, the more productive you are. Always remember that, because if you're under stress, then you're actually spending most of your resources to be under stress instead of actually thinking and working on an image itself. Okay, let's see how this works. I have just zoomed out to about 50%. Now I'm going to deactivate. Can you see it? Okay, let's zoom in to 100%. So you can see this under the belly button, this pelvis area. Do you see it? Before, after, before, after. So if you waited and if you wanna try to do exactly what I did, just pause the video and try to do it, and then compare your results to mine. Now I did it very loosely, first pass, so I'm just gonna continue to do it. There's still some area that needs fixing, like this one here and this one here. And since this is a wider area, more lighter, I'm using my, remember, soft light mode method, so I can just switch my foreground background color and burn this area, which is lighter, to match the overall tonality. Then I switch back to dodge tool and I fix some of these additional areas. And since I'm doing this really gently, I'm fixing the problems, but I'm not reshaping the way her body structure looks, her muscle areas. And that's probably the best thing I like about dodging and burning, is keeping that texture without affecting it too much. It's easy to go overboard, especially if you're a beginner, but like I already mentioned, you can always go back and try it again, or you can just lower opacity, mask it out, whatever the case might be. Here's an area, darker patch, needs working on. So let's see how that works. See this area which I just dodged? Just doesn't feel right. I mean, if you just take a look at 120 images or 1,000 images, your eyes will start to adapt. But even if you're not that trained to spot the areas, you can still kind of figure it out probably on your own, because just they seem off. I'm sure you've seen plenty of women, so this shouldn't be a problem. I mean, not just women, men in general, people in general. You can kind of see the areas that are just feel off, right? That's why when they make CGI humans in Hollywood, it's very hard to create realistic looking human being, because we see people on the street in our lives every day in the mirror, so we kind of are subconsciously aware of all the smaller gestures and everything. But when they create dinosaurs, even though it was in 1993, nobody saw a dinosaur. So you can really fake it any way you want, and people will still don't care. They'll use their imagination to fill out the blanks. Well, my point is that since we see in humans all the time, we kind of know what just doesn't belong, what doesn't look good, doesn't look fake. I mean, does look fake, or doesn't look uh, like the way it should look, and then we just fix that area. So let's zoom back to 50% and see what we've done. Well, you can see that I'm starting to shape this area, and there's some darker patches here, which I could definitely fix. Maybe increase my brush size a bit, and then move over this area. Really broader strokes, not applying much pressure. I'm using my pressure-sensitive tablet, so I can afford to do this. If using your mouse, you're going to have to let go of that mouse button. We talked about that. So hopefully one day you can switch back to tablet and enjoy really subtle pressure. Okay, let's see what else could we do here. This is just a first pass. I'm gonna go over this image maybe more than some others, mainly because this is a full body shot and I don't have too many of those to show you, so I'm gonna be spending some time on this one. So let's see. Just gonna zoom back to 50% and let's take another look. We can see that now we're actually shaping this quite nicely. Let's deactivate this. And let's zoom back. It's gonna look quite nice, but I can still use my dodge and burn tools here to really make this a nice transition between shadows and highlights, really smooth looking, but in the right direction. I don't want to disrupt the pattern of her muscles and her body shape. Actually, we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to enhance that in a while when we start adding some more the definition to what's already there. Okay, this area here, this area here, this area here. Maybe this, just the nice transitions. Okay, and let's switch to another area. Well, this hand could definitely use some work. So let's see what we can do with that. See these darker patches? Well, we can easily go over that one as well. But there are other methods you can use to fix those variations in skin. They are a bit more robust, I would say. You know, they do tend to smooth out not just what we were looking for, but the skin pores as well. And sometimes, especially if you're looking at it from a bit further away, skin tends to look almost blurred. But dodging and burning has a unique way of reading really realistic results while fixing those problems. Of course, the price you pay is the painstaking process of doing it. But you can't have everything. So for wanting the best results, dodge and burn with combination with other methods is probably the best way. But if you're just looking to dodge and burn for practice, then you shouldn't try to use other methods to speed up your workflow. You know, just try to stick with dodging and burning as much as possible, because you do want to learn it, and the best way to learn it is to practice it. This is some kind of a high-end project, then also dodge and burn is primarily the method you would use for much of the image, because you do want to get that natural result. And let's just fix some of these areas here and here and here. And zoom back out to see how we're progressing. Always zoom back in, out, before and after to see your progress. And if you're not satisfied, you can always go back and fix it. If you went too far, you can lower opacity, you can mask it out, you can do many things. And that's how you progress, slowly but surely. Here's another area we want to fix. All those color inconsistencies. Because you do want to get the really smooth looking skin, but you don't want to make it just without any pores. You don't want to make it flat looking. And if I were to use some automated technique here, I would probably polish out some of these inconsistencies, like I already said, but almost certainly it would look too smooth. Now, if depending on your project, some might like it, some might not. This is a dodging burn training title. I'm not saying that you should always do this. This is more about for you to understand the technique and then decide whether or not you're going to use it in your own projects. I mean, if you're not a high-end photographer or retoucher and you're watching this, what I'm doing, it doesn't mean you have to do this to every image. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to compromise the way you like to work. Just additional technique, additional set of skills you can learn and take it to your full advantage. If you are a high-end retoucher, then you probably already know this, or you're maybe trying to become one, so this might help you to get there. All right, let's see how we are progressing. That's going pretty nicely. We can do this on this arm as well, but before we do, let's try to fix some of these areas. Neck could use some work. You know, mainly throughout this entire process that you just saw, I'm mainly using my dodge tool because I'm just trying to even out the darker areas. I'm not trying to darken everything. There are less darker areas than there are lighter ones. So why not make yourself make your job easier. Don't try to darken everything. Try to lighten it instead. So that's why I'm using most of the time the dodge tool. Okay. Here is another area. We could even out with this area. I mean, this is a darker patch. We can even out with this one. So, okay, this is a darker patch as well. So why not make that one a bit lighter? And this is a dark patch here. This is a dark patch. This is a white, lighter patch. So I'm gonna switch my foreground background to burn this area, and that's how I will go over these areas here. Maybe a bigger brush. Okay, this is an area that I could dodge, maybe even this one, so I don't see this under her eye too much. And maybe I can darken this area here. And then switch to dodge tool to fix this area. And I'm gonna zoom back out. Okay, this is also on the cheek. Something I could fix. Then I'm switching between dodge and burn tools all the time. That's what I like about this method. And let's try to fix some of these problems. I'm going to use my dodge tool here again to go over these darker patches like so. And this is a lighter patch, so I'm going to darken that one, and I'm going to brighten these areas around it. And let's see. Okay, that's moving along quite nicely. And this area here, this area here, this area here, all of this could be dodged. And in case you're wondering, like I said, you could use several passes, one for obvious problems and one for pixel level dodging and burning. Well, if you really are comfortable, if you want to, you don't have to limit yourself to that. Dodging and burning is dodging and burning. You can always use one pass. You can use 20 passes. It really doesn't matter. It's just that you get the finished results and the way you like to work. I'm going to be pointing out that through much of this training title, and hopefully by this time you kind of figure it out on your own. I'm just trying to demonstrate the technique itself, not tell you what to do step by step. And you should always learn first the principles and then the specific techniques. Because if you understand the principles, you can encounter new situations and adapt. If you know just the specific techniques, new situation, new factors come into play, and you're lost. You don't know how to adapt. So if you understand this technique, you can do anything. I mean, if you understand the dodging and burning. So, all right, now I've done this quite a bit of work. Okay, let's zoom to 50%. And let's take a look. Deactivate the help. I think I lost some of the shadow here, so I'm gonna switch to my burn tool and darken this patch. See how it looks now. Looking better. All right, now let's take a look at tummy area. It's looking nice. Let's do some more work on the leg. That's part we didn't do anything. And I'm gonna again dodge some of these areas here really gently, because there is a global transition from shadow to highlight. So when I'm doing these smaller patches, I have to be careful to go with the same kind of transition from highlights to shadows. That's the trick you can use to. I mean, if you're careful about that, you can do all the smaller patches and still retain the original shape of the leg. So I'm gonna fix this part, this one here as well. Everything that I see kind of doesn't fit the nice smooth transitions. That's the thing that I'm gonna try to dodge or burn. Yeah, this area here, this area here, this area here, this area here. Here we have a bunch of lines we could even out. I know you can't talk to me, but I want to ask you a question, and then you ask yourself, are you, by this time throughout the DVD, are you getting better, or are you still clueless about what needs to be dodged and what needs to be burned? If you don't know yet, then hopefully this chapter will help you. If you're already kind of familiar with it, then this just might just might amplify what you already know, or kind of doubt it might be right. So this area here, it's something I want to fix. And let's take a look. Now you can see that I went too far here, so I made this patch a bit too wide. That's the transition that I wasn't looking for with it. You can see it. So I'm gonna darken that patch over everything. And in case you're wondering how much I'm zoomed in, well, you can see now I'm 50%, so it doesn't have to be like 2000% zoomed in. It all depends on if you can see the problematic area and you can dodge or burn it with precision, that's enough. You don't need to go above that. Sometimes it's even good to work from a little bit far off than you might be comfortable, because it allows you to see the transitions better. I mean, global transitions, like I'm doing right now. Okay, I'm gonna try to work on this area here. Dodge and burn, right? So I'm not just dodging, I'm also burning. That's why I can work on shadows as well as highlights. Okay, here I could maybe try to shape this area as well as this one. We don't want to make it too round. It's going to look like she has implants. So we should just make this area like the skin is, like it looks more natural. So it's not just an oval shape. And I'm sure many of you are tempted. So let's start off with hand part here again. Just going back and forth, that's a good way to kind of stay motivated so that you're not bored, and also it becomes more objective. If you go back and forth, it's easier to spot potential problems, or if you spend too much time on one area, you kind of get used to it, and then your mind starts to wander, and then you're not looking, and then you're not paying attention what you're looking, what you're doing, and pretty soon you end up with a flat looking area. Or you don't zoom out too much, don't show before and after too much. So let's take a look. Does this look fake or it looks alright? I think it looks pretty good. So we could work on her face here a bit. Let's activate our help some more. Now let's fix some of these smaller problems. See a darker patch, make it lighter to match the surrounding area. That's the whole philosophy. Nothing too serious. And I think you should enjoy, if you're doing this for the first time or if you're doing this more than once, I think you should just enjoy the process. If you're not enjoying this, then don't do it. You have to enjoy dodging and burning or whatever it is that you're doing. It may not be even retouching. So if you're not enjoying it, try to find another line of work, because it just becomes tedious at that point. Of course, if you're practicing this without my voice, you can always use different music and audiobooks, and you can talk to maybe somebody. Well, people talk on Skype with other people while retouching. It's perfectly normal. So why not you, right? If you're a freelancer, if you're not working in a studio, maybe. If you're studio working, then I'm sure there's somebody you can talk to in the studio itself. Unfortunately, I have to talk to myself here. But I do know I have some audience, so it's not that difficult. Not real-time audience, but you're gonna hear this one way or the other. So I guess the only problem is that I'm trying to not repeat myself. And I was kind of surprised when I first started recording, because once you start dodging and burning, and once you explain kind of the basic, there's not much to talk about it. You just dodging the areas that are darker than the surroundings. I mean, what is there so much to talk about? There's not too many tips I can give you. I can just show you, and hopefully you won't get bored of me. So let's take a look. Let's deactivate our help and let's zoom back to 50%. Let's take a closer look. I don't think it's perfect. It still has a lot of work, but we're getting there, and I'm not gonna finish this image here because that's not the goal of this video, but I just wanted to show you how you can move progressively and watch your results. Okay, now what I wanted to do is I wanted to shape this with more global dodging and burning, and we're going to do that in the next video.